Jaqui Wills, Johanna Brennan and Naomi Richards are three sisters who lost their parents, younger sister and brother in the Seaview Air Disaster on October the 2nd, 1994. Shortly after midday on Sunday, October the 2nd, 1994, an Aero Commander 690 aircraft operated by Seaview Air departed from Williamtown Airport, just north of Newcastle, New South Wales, en route to Lord Howe Island. On board were the pilot and 8 passengers, including Stephen and Carolyn Lake and their children, Judith, who was 18, and Benjamin, 12 years old. 90 minutes into the journey, the pilot radioed that the aircraft was experiencing severe vibrations and that he was descending to 16,000 feet. Moments later, radio contact was lost. It is believed the aircraft plunged directly into the sea. Despite an extensive search, only scattered pieces of wreckage were recovered, confirming the aircraft was destroyed and all lives were lost. At the time, Jaqui was 23 and Hannah 22 and Naomi 19 years old when they lost their mum and dad and younger sister and brother. Jaqui, Hannah and Naomi joined Wilderness Conversations to share their memories and experiences and reflections on this profound tragedy. Jaqui, Hannah and Naomi, thanks very much for joining Wilderness Conversations.
Thank you for having us.
Hi.
What I might do just really quickly before we get into the subject at hand is maybe just introduce yourself briefly. Just tell us sort of who you are where you live, because a bunch of people know you, but a bunch of people who are listening probably don't know you, and where you actually are today. Maybe we'll start with Hannah.
Yep, I'm living in Brisbane, go to Wilston Ecclesia, married to Mark Brennan with 6 kids. And 1 grandchild. I
was thinking Hannah's the oldest, but actually, Jaqui, you're the oldest, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, you can go next.
Okay. Well, I'm Jacqueline. I live in Brisbane with my husband Bart, and we've got 3 adult children, 1 grandchild, and I go to the Woodford Ecclesia, north of Brisbane.
And Naomi.
Hi, I'm Naomi Richards and I go to Hunter Valley Ecclesia. I'm married to David Richards and I have 4 beautiful children, 4 beautiful son and daughter-in-laws and 6 beautiful grandchildren.
Growing family. Yeah. Well, thank you very much again for joining. I'd love to hear your memories of Stephen and Carolyn. I have a recollection of them myself, but I'd love to hear. Let's start with Carolyn. What do you remember about your mum?
Oh, wow. Mum was a very vivacious, outgoing, bright, bubbly, energetic. What else do you reckon, girls?
Ideas person. With all the ideas in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Mum was a butterfly. She was busy, creative, beautiful, bubbly, caring. She was an amazing mum.
She was the best mum.
Mm.
So she was a daughter of Dick and Edith Mansfield?
That's correct.
Eldest daughter, yep.
Eldest daughter, yeah.
Yep.
What are your personal sort of memories? What's something special that you remember personally about your mum?
Where do you start? Wow. Mum was bigger than life in a lot of ways, and she was an amazing role model. So when I think about Mum, I think of somebody that I aspired to be like.
In what way?
She always seemed to be so knowledgeable and wise, and she seemed to know everything. And she always had an answer for something. If you had a problem, you knew you could take it to Mum and she'd come up with something amazing.
And she was very caring. So she always had people she was helping. There were always people coming and going, people with marriage problems, people who were sick. Mum was always there reaching out. She was never home when we got home in the afternoon because she was always out helping somebody. So you'd often have to let yourself in because she was out caring for somebody in need, or there'd be visitors at home that were crying that Mum was helping. So she was always caring for others, I would say.
Hospitable.
Yeah.
Very hospitable. Yeah.
There was always somebody at the house.
But she was always ready to go out shopping if you needed to go shopping.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Always.
Johanna got all of it.
Yeah.
We spoke to David a few weeks ago, and it's actually on the podcast. And so for those who don't know, she was the older sister of David Mansfield. I don't know much about Stephen and his background. Let's talk about your dad, Stephen. Where What was his background?
He started out in ships as an marine engineer. I think it was called. I'd have to actually, I would probably know, but
Yeah.
but then he got sick working on ships a lot. So he got into hydraulics and pneumatics and fluid power. And he was a TAFE teacher for 20 plus years, I think.
Look at Jacko. You sound like an expert.
Oh, before he started his own business in hydraulics, pneumatics, and fluid power. So then he would go, and he actually was flying around to Germany and places like that, teaching their own staff how to look after and manage their own equipment. He was a whiz when it came to anything hydraulics.
He was the engineer of the family, obviously a very knowledgeable man.
Yeah,
very engineer-minded.
The complete opposite to my mother. So
Right.
Dad was stable, steady, mathematical, practical, an introvert, where Mum was an extrovert.
He was logical.
Yeah.
He designed a lot of the hydraulics for the mining equipment.
He was the rock. So Mum was the butterfly, as Uncle David said, and Dad was the rock. He was Mr. Steady. So he was dependable, very faithful, but a rigid thinker, very black and white. So he was strong and determined, but they complemented each other very well.
Unless Mum was running late for something, and then Dad, you know. Sunday mornings. Mum always put a roast on every Sunday morning before Sunday school, and we were always running late, sitting in the car waiting for Mum to come out. So, yes.
Yeah.
Well, they say opposites attract, but they also create a lot of sparks. Where did they meet? And did your dad grow up in the Truth?
No, Dad lived next door to in Charlestown and went to Charlestown meeting, then Newcastle, but he lived next door to a Christadelphian family who brought them to Sunday school, and his whole family went to Sunday school, then Grandma did, and came in that way.
So he came to Sunday school as a young man.
Yeah.
And then went to Sydney to court Mum. So he was Newcastle, Mum was Sydney.
So he ended up he got kicked out of the Church of England Sunday school for fighting. And the brother next door came and said to Grandma, well, do you want him to come to our Sunday school?
Yeah, fighting's fine in our Sunday school.
He has to go to Sunday school somewhere, so he may as well.
And they were getting off the train, apparently. They were whopping it. They were meant to go to Sunday school, but were getting off the train and not turning up at Sunday school. So they got picked up by a Christadelphian and dropped off by a Christadelphian, and that's when they set up Charlestown Ecclesia. So that was why they said, if we set up an ecclesia in Charlestown, or a church in Charlestown, would you allow your children to come to it, Mrs. Lake?
So is that the origin of the meeting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, apparently. There was a whole group, but yeah.
Okay, so they met amongst the Sydney Christadelphian youth group.
I think they met at like a Bible school working bee or something.
I think Dad was dating one of Mum's friends.
Yeah. He was actually engaged at one point before.
Yeah.
And Grandma Lake wore that ring for many years.
Yes,
she did.
She wasn't very happy about the fact they broke up.
So.
What are some of your favourite memories growing up together as a family?
Camping.
Yeah, going around Australia, I was going to say, as a family, we went around Australia. That was really special.
So that was like a year off or something, was it?
Dad took long service leaves and we went up and around. Yeah, it was really special.
All right, in a caravan.
A pop top, a Jaqui.
Pop top, L300, Mitsubishi L300 and a pop top caravan.
Yeah.
With a nebulizer for Ben because of his asthma, and we'd all swap seats except Ben had the same seat the whole trip.
He was only 5, I think.
He wasn't at school, so he'd be younger.
Oh, it must have been 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked family celebrations, so birthdays, we'd all go into Mum and Dad's bed and get a present, and also give out a present for birthdays, and end of year, and Jindabyne, going to Jindabyne for end of year holidays. We'd stay in Uncle David's unit because Mum and Dad didn't have a lot of money, and we'd sew curtains one year and paint the house the next year, and we did lots of things when Jindabyne wasn't a cool place to go to in summer. So I remember those.
A lot of hiking and bushwalking and that sort of thing, which is probably why I love it still.
Yeah, so love of nature.
It's mainly, we weren't bought a lot of things, so it was mainly the time we spent together at Foster Tuncurry. The actual time we spent together was probably the most important.
Or on bungles.
Yep.
And also the visitors. I think that was a big part of our family, always having people coming and going from Sydney, Adelaide, whoever was there on a Sunday. I think the visitors were a big part of growing up, which I loved. It was always an open door policy, like there was always somebody welcome or coming to the home.
At Rathmine, so that would have been a big part of your life?
Yep. Yeah.
We went to every single Bible school growing up that I can remember till I got married.
Yep.
Yeah. And I still go back.
Mm.
I still love it.
What was important to them? What were some of the key principles,
I would say God.
sort of non-negotiables they had in your family life?
God, and being at the meeting, caring for others.
Their faith.
And being true, their faith. Being true to your core values and showing respect and compassion towards others. I'd say that would be what Mum and Dad stood for.
Going to the meeting was a non-negotiable. You just went, not because they forced you, but you just knew that's where you had to be and you went. And that's where your family was. That's the meeting became your family.
So faith, family, and helping others would be. Towards the end, when Dad had his own business, I was married, living in Sydney. I was still doing all his admin and secretary stuff. So I used to love it when he would come down to visit the mines, and then he'd call into our place on the way back home or stay the night. And I'll never forget one night he turned up, and I had made this. I always tried to make special teas when Dad was coming, and I'd seen this idea for a broccoli salad, but it was raw broccoli. And Bart was so disgusted that I was going to feed my father raw broccoli. He packed us up and we went out for tea that night. He said, "You can't do that." Dad thought it was hilarious because he'd never had raw broccoli in his life.
No.
Yeah. I thought it was a good idea at the time, obviously. But yeah, that's just a funny memory that I have. And it wasn't that long before they died.
Mum used to enjoy taking us to David Jones at Garden City and letting us go to the lolly counter and get like $1 worth of this sort of lolly and $1.50s of this sort of lolly. She used to be renowned for that, taking us there. She'd always get the Darrelly bullets. Red tulip bullets. Yep.
Dark chocolate.
Yes.
Red tulip bullets.
So she was renowned for that. But always David Jones. They'd know her by name. Yep. But yeah.
So she loved the quality.
Yes. But then she'd be quite happy to run around in her joggers with her pearls at Bible school. It didn't really matter. She didn't care. She was.
Oh, but she was very generous too, wasn't
yes.
she? Even though we didn't have a lot of money growing up, Mum was very generous. She'd been raised with money, but she didn't have money with Dad. So she had a very generous heart and would give you anything she possibly could.
Which Dad didn't love sometimes.
No. She would frustrate Dad no end though, when she'd go and buy something new, which Mark empathises with, I think. But yes, I still remember she said she had bought something and Dad was really quite annoyed about it. And as she walked out of the room, he realised other people were in the room and he turned around and he just went, "Oh, I love that woman," because he couldn't say anything else because we were all there.
He did that a lot.
So, he did that.
One thing that was always wonderful about them is, and I think it's something that we brought into our raising of our kids, was that they were always a united front. So even if one didn't agree with the other, they would never disagree with the other person in front of any of us kids. It was always work together.
They backed each other.
Yeah. And they loved each other fiercely. They really did.
They did.
And when you look back, in a lot of ways too, you wouldn't have wanted one of them to survive and the other one not, because they
couldn't have done
how
without each other.
Yeah.
Your dad always said he was going to come back and haunt Mum if we died. But they did.
Nice.
We used to get embarrassed, and we'd get embarrassed as kids, and we'd say, "You have to kiss underwater because you're just embarrassing in public." And they'd say, "No, wouldn't you prefer us to be happy than not happy in a marriage?" So yeah, they were very loving.
Very open with public displays of affection in front of everybody at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think poor Bart walked into it and was like, "Oh my goodness, what have I come into in this family?"
Mark was the same.
And David loved it because he didn't have family, so he just went from nothing to thinking he was getting this amazing family.
Yeah.
Such a nice memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were pretty special.
You guys were all around 20 when you lost your parents and Judith and Benjamin. Judith was just a little bit younger than you. What's your memory of Judith?
Pocket rocket.
To me, she was just my little sister, and I'd probably already left home a couple of years before they died, so I left home when she was only 16, and she was just always just a little bossy person that would run around telling everyone what to do, even though she was the younger sister.
She was very caring and fiercely loyal. Judy and I were very close because we're only 13 months apart. So I'm in January and she's in March the next year. So we shared the same bedroom all our lives till she died. We'd shared a bunk. We used to tie our legs together in bed at night so Mum and Dad couldn't separate us when we fell asleep. So we'd always been together. So even today I went back to her workplace because I had an appointment there. So going back every time, it reminds me of Judy where she worked. So yeah, I definitely miss Judy being, she was just part of who I was. It was Bob and Judy were always stuck together because we were close in age. But yeah, she was very loyal, fiercely loyal. She would stick up for anybody.
So you called her Judy.
Yeah.
General Jude.
Judy, yeah.
Yeah.
Was she like your mum or your dad?
Probably like Mum, I would think.
I was going to
I
say
would say
Dad.
Dad.
But both, because
She was very logical.
yeah, but she'd still be happy to get out and do things like Mum would do, a bit more outgoing.
She was
as
still
well.
out there.
Yeah,
So a mixture.
Yeah.
She was a mix.
yeah. She was the one that rang the bell first day of school and got everyone at attention in the middle of lunchtime. She went up and rang
She
the
climbed
bell.
up on the veranda.
Somebody dared her and she did
Yeah,
it.
Or told
first
her
day
to
of
do it.
school. Yep. So yes.
Naomi, you said you visited her workplace. What did she do for work?
She ran the whole hospital, if you ask Judy. So she did
Right.
the payroll for John Hunter Hospital. So she paid all the doctors and nurses, and she was very important.
So you're talking like a 17, 18-year-old.
And
So
that's when she passed away, the year. She just
Yeah.
finished school and started working that year. So
Right.
yeah, it was her first year working. And she just bought her Toyota Corolla car.
And then there was Benjamin, who was at 12 years old.
Yeah, he was just about a couple of weeks off 13.
Right.
But he was definitely the baby of the family, and being the only boy, he was probably the most spoiled out of all of us.
So the only boy and the youngest.
Yeah,
By 5
and had
years.
most days off school and could just come up with an excuse and get a day off school. It was like, how did that never work for us?
He was very cheeky and very fun and mischievous. He was active. He was bouncing. He was ADHD, especially from all the medication, I would say, for his asthma. Yeah. And Judy was baptized when they passed away, but Ben wasn't. But she just had been baptized a few months previously. And Ben had just learnt Psalm 1 off by heart as a surprise for Mum, because Mum was his Sunday school teacher, and when he got home from Lord Howe Island, he was going to tell her his new instructor, which was all of Psalm 1. He'd come in each night before bed and I'd teach him another verse of Psalm 1. So that was my special memory of Ben, learning Psalm 1 to surprise Mum. And I don't know if he ever told her it, but yeah, he learnt that off by heart just before they flew overseas.
It was one of Mum's favourite psalms.
Right. What meeting were they going to? And you would have been, I guess, with them, Naomi?
Bullaroo.
Yep.
Yeah.
The day of the disaster, I mean, obviously you had no inkling that it was happening. What's your memory of the day?
For me, the morning started with Mum ringing to say goodbye and that they were packing, and I remember sitting on the bed in our bedroom back when you had a phone next to the bed, and Bart was in the shower getting ready to head to the meeting, so I just yelled out to him that Mum was on the phone, and he yelled back, "Tell them to have a good holiday and we'll see them in a week." And yeah, that was the morning anyway. But
So Jackie, you were in Queensland by
I
then?
was in Sydney.
You were in Sydney. Okay.
Yeah, we had a unit in Engadine. And I remember telling Mum that we were putting our unit on the market the following day. We were planning, we'd had an appointment booked with the local real estate. And I said, you never know, we might have an offer on the house or be moving by the time you come back. Well, we've definitely done that a couple of times over.
Mark and I had been at a youth group camp and just got home from it, and we were about to go out to the meeting, the night meeting, and I flicked on the TV for the news, and it just had a random, because we were in Queensland, a thing saying a plane was missing on its way to Lord Howe Island. And I remember calling out to Mark and saying, hey, there was a plane. What was Mum and Dad's flight? And he said, I don't know. And I ended up contacting the travel agent who had got the tickets for them, and he rang me back and said, oh no, it was this flight number. And I said, well, that's the one they're saying is missing. And then he confirmed that it was their flight. So it was a bit of shock to start with. They're going, what's going on? And because we were living in Queensland, we didn't have as much communication as what was New South Wales. But like the next news report came up, there was actually photos of Mum and Dad on the news report.
Wow.
To this day, I don't know whoever gave them photos. But I remember Bible school had just finished, so Naomi and David were at Bullaroo for the lecture. So I remember Mark rang the Bullaroo Hall to get on to Naomi and David, and then you weren't at home, Jackie, I think, so you were Cindy.
No.
And
so we went out in the afternoon for our nephew's 3rd birthday party.
Yeah.
And it was back before mobile phones.
Yeah.
So nobody knew where you were, and trying to track people down was hard. So we were there, and Bart the phone rang, and my sister-in-law answered the phone, and she came out and goes, oh, Mark's on the phone. It didn't sound good, and he wants to speak to Bart. And I immediately thought something had happened to Hannah, because Han was pregnant with Stevie at the time. And I was like, oh no, and I'm just waiting, because he went into the bedroom to answer the phone, and when he came out, he just walked straight to the TV, because that hadn't been on all afternoon, and said, your parents' plane's gone missing. And at first I was like, really? I just thought, well, they're going to have a great story to tell us when they're found. I didn't actually think it was actually going to be for.
Yeah, how did your day play out, Naomi?
As the girls had said, Mum runs late, Dad runs early. And Dad was rushing everyone to sit at the dining table because he wanted to do a memorial meeting before we left. Because the plane flight didn't go till midday, but he wanted to do a memorial meeting first thing before I drove them to the airport, so I could get back to Bullaroo for the meeting. That was the most important thing to him. So we all grabbed our Bibles, we sat at the dining table, and we read Galatians 1 and 2 around the table. All 5 of us had bread and wine. Then we got in the car and drove straight up. And I remember stopping at Katara Shopping Centre at the lights, and Mum just had to give me a sideward glance because Judy and Ben were fighting in the back seat. And so I just, at the lights, swap seats with Ben into the middle to separate them, because Dad was stressed because we were late to get them to the airport, not for their flight, but for me for the meeting, which was the priority. So we got to the airport early. No one else was there. It was empty. They were renovating. It was Newcastle Airport. They were still renovating. It was very new. And they said there's no flights to Lord Howe Island. When Dad and I went up to the counter, and Mum was dealing with Judy and Ben. And the lady took Dad's ticket, which was to Lord Howe Island, and went out the back and made a phone call, and we could see her out the back because it was all renovations, and we could see her talking. She was out there for about 10 minutes, and Dad was getting worried, but she came back. Now we know she was organising a flight from Sydney to come up, which is why it was all a big mess. And she came back and said, take a seat, we're organising the flight. So it was meant to be, they were going to call me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to say that they'd arrived safely. I left them, waved goodbye, and went to Bullaroo meeting on time. And then in the afternoon, they were meant to call at 3 p.m. and they didn't. But I was too busy sewing a skirt to wear to the meeting that night, because it was after the Bible school. It was a fraternal dinner at Bullaroo and a lecture, and I thought they forgot about it, which was fine. And then during dinner at about 6:10, one of the sisters from our meeting rang from Sydney saying that there was on the news that the plane was missing, and had I heard from Mum and Dad. David took me home, and my best friend was coming to stay with me for the week while Mum and Dad were away. That was all planned. So she also came, and the police met us at home and told us the plane was missing, and it was Lord Howe Island. They hadn't landed. So that was the day for me. It was a big day.
Yeah, we headed straight from my sister and brother-in-laws to my grandparents, Dick and Edith's. and the rest of the family were there. Like everyone from Sydney in that family were at Grandma and Grandpa's, and they'd been trying to find us as well, and were very glad when we arrived. So we probably stayed there till most of the night, just listening to news things. And then first thing the next morning, we drove up to Newcastle to Naomi, and and then you come down the road because Mum and Dad were on acreage, and all of the news reporters were parked all the way along the front of the property. So you go in, and there was just
it was quite stressful.
It was a crazy.
It was very, yeah. I remember when everyone left, I was home alone on this acreage, and I remember going for my morning run each morning, and there'd be the media out the front just taking photos of you while you're going for a run and watching.
I remember when I was up there with you, with the two of us would go for a morning walk and run, because I don't run as much as Naomi. I'm happy to walk. And we'd do it really early, so we'd be back again before the media would show up.
So, Hannah, you were up in Brisbane,
Yes.
So that would have been difficult for you because you would have felt a little bit out of it. How did that work?
It was a bit hard because being in Queensland, and this is before internet and everything, it was sort of no news because it wasn't local news to Brisbane. So you had to wait on phone calls from New South Wales to find out what was going on. My doctor was very concerned that I might miscarry the baby, so he didn't want me to fly down for a couple of weeks. So I was home. I think we stayed up for 2 weeks before, or was it a week or 2 weeks before?
A week
before we went down for the service. But yeah, it was just, we had a lot of support from brethren and sisters at Wilston Ecclesia would come over and spend time with me or take me out shopping or do something so to take my mind off things. But yeah, no communication at all, really.
The day that they died on the 2nd of October, and I had the week off, and Jackie came up the next morning, and because they were missing people, David rang CASA every morning at 8 a.m. The head chief inspector gave him his direct number, and David would ring and get an update, and then David would pass that on to everybody.
Jackie, you mentioned, and I sort of resonated with me at least, that it would take just a little while for the seriousness to sink in. The plane's missing. At what point did you realise, actually, this is very serious? It's not just missing, and you feared the worst. Was that night, or did that take a little bit longer?
It wasn't till we were on the search flight, because I remember going up on that, and it's funny, thinking back, I actually thought it was only Naomi and Dave and Bart and I on that flight. I don't remember all of the other people on it, but I was just so focused that I was going to find them. I was determined that if I got up there and got over that grid pattern, I would spot them. For me, it was them.
It was very hard, I was going to say, because everyone had different opinions. So our Grandma Lake kept saying they're dead, they're gone, they're gone. Everyone needs to face the reality. Others were saying they're alive, we need to go on a search party, we need to do it now. There were brethren, getting very worked up about it, and poor David was in the middle trying to keep everyone calm.
So when did this happen? Did this happen
That was on the Thursday, Friday of that week. So
okay, so let's talk about
2nd of October, and it was like Thursday.
That was a Sunday.
Yep, and then on the Thursday, Friday.
So tell me about Monday.
Monday was a lot of making a lot of cups of tea and hugging a lot of people and telling them it'd be okay. And
on Monday, did you still think things are going to be fine?
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
I did.
Well, no, and yes for some.
Yeah.
Different people thought different things.
Yeah. I didn't know if any could have survived and how long they would survive in the water in the middle of nowhere, in freezing conditions out of a plane. So it was really, but yes, your brain plays tricks on you, like for days, weeks, months, I would say. I would see someone that was mum's height or dad's build and dream that they were on an island, and you dream that they were coming back. So your brain, and when there's no bodies, when there's no funeral service and you can go and visit where they are, it's very hard for your brain to comprehend that they're not coming back as well. So it's a very tricky, there's no finality.
I think for me that the first couple of days, there was so many people turning up at Mum and Dad's, and you just literally, and I think in a way that probably helped, is the comforting all of the other people and telling people it'll be okay. I sort of Dad always had an exit strategy for any situation he was in. So if there was ever a person that was going to get them off the plane, if there was an issue, it would have been Dad. So from my point of view, I was like, if they're going to be found, if it's at all possible, Dad will figure something out. But I was still, I guess I'm a glass half full kind of person. So I was optimistic.
So, Hannah, you were still in Brisbane. How long did it take you before you decided to come down to Sydney?
It was about a week. The doctor wouldn't let me fly for a week and kept monitoring me. But I still thought they would walk into the service that we had at Bible school, because I was distant from the search and everything. So to me, I thought it was hilarious that we were having this big service, all hundreds and hundreds of people there, thinking, well, they would love walking in. They're going to walk in here and see everyone here and catch up with their friends. Because, I was still sort of...
I think you even said that on numerous occasions. She kept saying they're going to walk in, and I'm like, I think because I was dealing with the detectives and I was dealing with it on a daily basis, it was more
It definitely makes a difference if you're in the middle of it versus on the outside, doesn't it? Definitely makes a difference.
I remember someone at the service telling me I shouldn't have been laughing because I laughed at something over the afternoon tea. And I laughed, and I remember them saying, you shouldn't be laughing. I'm going, oh, but they're going to be found and they're going to think this is the funniest thing ever. But
The service
so you were really in complete denial, really?
Oh, yeah, I was.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah. And then
So they died.
And that was 2 weeks after they died. So they died the 2nd. And that weekend was when we went.
It was the 15th.
And then, the following weekend was when we had the service.
Hannah, you were in denial. When did the penny drop for you?
Well, from about being, I can't even... It's funny, from the time I saw the news saying that the plane was missing to the day Stephen was born, my memories are very sketchy. So I remember being there at the service. I remember staying with Naomi and flying up and back for doctor's visits, being in Naomi's wedding. But apart from that, could not tell you what happened. Yeah.
That says something about it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the doctor said that's sort of how my body coped being pregnant and how your brain worked, and could have been worse. So,
And it felt like a longer period of time. So the search for them, and then even like if somebody had said how long after when they died was the service, I would have said a month. But it was actually only 2 weeks.
Well, just how did that week play out? So we've got the Monday. So Monday goes into Tuesday and Wednesday. What's happening now?
There were daily phone calls with David and Katha with updates.
And you say updates, but there was no updates, was there? I mean, you find nothing. The update is we found nothing.
I had the sergeant ring me too a couple of times to keep us up in the loop. So there was one of the detectives ring and keep us updated every day as well. I also went on the news. I got interviewed because they kept coming and asking. So Uncle Roger and I were interviewed for, I think it was Channel 10 or Channel 9, one of the news.
What made you do that?
Just to stop the questions. It was easier to answer things.
Uncle Roger gave in to the demand.
Yeah. It was easier just to talk to them.
We did write something and gave it to them, but then they edited it and didn't print exactly what we had written. So actually, I remember that. So actually having you like filmed, they couldn't edit too much out.
So I'm getting the feeling of what's happening sort of Monday and Tuesday. You're ringing every day. There's no news.
Yeah.
What was the first thing that changed? So I can imagine every day sort of being a bit similar in many ways. What changed?
Getting up in that flight was the big...
Yeah. So at some point someone said, we want to get up on a flight.
Yeah, I think we've all been asking about it.
So you're being told that search parties are looking, and at some point someone said, well, can we get involved in the search?
The people in the meeting were very determined to look for them and try and find them and bring them home. So they allowed, Casa rang and gave us permission and organised a flight from Aero Pelican to take a small number of people, family members and close friends, to the site where there were the boats and they were looking and the search was happening.
So they knew approximately, because they would have known where the plane should have been at that particular point in time. So that's what they were using as sort of the area, I guess.
Yeah, and where they had found some parts of the plane.
they'd found parts of the plane before you did the flight.
No, they had, but they hadn't told us, I don't believe, at that time. But we did find out that they were down there that afternoon afterwards, I'm pretty sure, didn't they?
Yeah, they actually knew approximately where it was because there's 2 checkpoints when the planes go across. And he checked in at one of them but hadn't checked in at the next one. So the radio transponder in the plane, they've got had the data. So they had an approximation area where they started searching from.
So who went on this flight?
Not me.
Well, that's what I don't remember everyone that went on it.
I won't ask you, Jackie. I'll ask.
No.
Family members, our grandparents, Dick and
Yeah.
Edith Mansfield, David and I, Barton and Jackie, and a cousin and a close friend went.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's quite a number.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was a small plane.
And what were you expecting from this trip?
I was expecting to see more than what I did. And I think for me personally, once I got over it and you were flying, we were slightly higher than the other search planes, and you could see everyone in a grid. You could see the other planes, everyone's in a grid.
Oh, wow. So you could see a lot of activity.
You could see everything happening. And looking down and just seeing the vastness of the ocean, and that's when it hit home, is that how the heck are we going to find anything in that space?
Yep. What day was this?
That would have been the Thursday or the Friday.
Towards the end of the week.
Yeah.
And to me, I just remember clinging in that moment, watching that, going, this is like God looking down, and God's in control, and he sees them and he knows them and he loves them and he loves us, and it's going to be okay. I remember the tears streaming, going, God can see this. He's above us watching this, and he's got this all sorted out for us. And that gave me great comfort.
Did you think God was going to save them at that point?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't. But I knew that God knew best, and he loved them like he loved me. So I knew that whatever was going to happen was going to be perfect, and it was going to be okay, whatever it was. Whether one of them survived, none of them survived, I completely clung to that hope that without that there is nothing. So for me, that was my first moment of being really comforted, to go, God's got this sorted.
Jackie, you were on the plane. You talked about the vastness. Was it at that point you thought they've gone?
Yeah. That's when I didn't expect them to have any chance of surviving unless they'd somehow gotten onto something. But there was too much of the plane broken up to find anything. And it's not till later on when you read and find out actually what happened with the plane, there really was no chance.
There never was a chance. The flight's on Thursday or Friday. It sounds like Friday probably. You come home, there's another weekend, and day goes into day. Naomi, you said you went to work on the Monday. I mean, that would have been difficult. I mean, at that point, did you just decide we just need to get on with life, or what are you thinking at this time?
I felt like I didn't have a choice, only because it was my first year working and I'd been quite sick. So I'd had time off just the month before, which is why I didn't go with Mum and Dad. So Mum and Dad paid for Judy and Ben, but they didn't pay for me because...
Were you supposed to go?
Yeah. But because I'd been unwell and it was my first year working, Mum and Dad had paid for my health expenses and getting me better 2 months previous to this flight. So I stayed home, which I was fine about. And I had David as my boyfriend, so I still had somebody at home, so to speak. But I didn't go with them. Knew I wasn't going, so I needed to get back to work because it was my first year teaching and I couldn't keep taking time off work. And with so many people coming and going, it was sort of nice to have a little bit of normality, which to me was nice. Although on the second, I think it was the first or second day back at work, the police rang, again, no mobile phones, and I had to go and identify what they'd found from the plane. So that was hard. So my Uncle Roger, my dad's brother, picked me up from my work at Cardiff as a teacher and drove me up to Raymond Terrace Police Station. And I identified Judy's, my sister's little teddy bear that she'd just been given at Bible school from a boy who liked her, Mum's toiletry bag, Mum's toiletry things, her toothbrush. And I even saw the plane seat that was burnt, like just all the things that was really hard to face, and then went back to work and kept teaching. So, but I think that also made it very real because I was dealing with it and identifying and signing off to say that, yes, that was my family's things. So that was hard 1 week after they were missing. But it made it real at the same time. Yeah.
And was it around that time you as the family, but also an extended group of friends, no doubt, decided to have a memorial service?
So, yeah, then that was the following weekend then on the 15th of October. And on the same weekend, we also went to Sydney, David and I did, and organised our engagement because we were only dating and I was 19 at the time and we weren't planning on getting married then. But Dad had said to David the night before they died, look after her while we're gone. So David took that very seriously because they were at Bible school and we went on a date to Paul's Asian Affair, a really nice restaurant in Newcastle, and Mum and Dad helped themselves onto our date. So we had a double date. And Dad's last words were to David, please look after her while we're gone. So that weekend he also went to Sydney in the Dimmicks building on George Street and got an engagement ring made for me. And then we were engaged that following week again. So on the 22nd of October, we got engaged. And on the 23rd of October, it was Ben's 13th birthday. And I remember going to the meeting on the Sunday and being so happy and showing everyone my engagement ring, but also feeling so sad in my heart that it was Ben's 13th birthday.
Was there any challenges organising the service? Did people say too early, what are you doing? Or did it all sort of come together and make sense for you?
I don't remember organising. I think so. Dad's executors, Mum and Dad's executors were Uncle Dave and Uncle Shane, and so that I think they sort of must have got together.
Uncle Guy was there, and Uncle Garnet came over and talked to us all about what to put in it. He did the service.
So Hannah, you were at the service. So you at some stage during that second week you came down, obviously.
We flew down the day before it. I remember Uncle Dave and Auntie Julie picked us up from the airport. I think Mark's parents met us at the airport. Then they drove us up to Newcastle. So yeah, for the service, yeah.
And for you, it's becoming real because you weren't in the middle of it. So it's harder for you, as you mentioned, to make it a reality.
It was, but I was still thinking they're still going to be found at the time. I remember thinking that because to me they were just on holidays. It was like Jackie mentioned that she had spoken to Mum and Dad the morning of and Naomi had taken them. Well, the Friday afternoon before we went to our camp, before the accident, I actually rang Dad's mobile to speak to Mum. And Judy answered it, who I spoke to Judy, then she gave it to Ben, who gave it to Dad, who said, Mum will call you tomorrow, and she did. So the day before, basically the accident, I actually spoke to all four of them because Mum was coming up to help me buy nursery things the week after for our first baby. So at the time I'm thinking, well, you just give the phone to Mum, I want to speak to her. But in hindsight, I actually got to say, have a great holiday, see you when you get back, to all four of them. So to me, they were still on holiday, which to me, they still are on holiday. So, yeah. So.
Jackie, what's your memory of the service?
A lot of people.
Yeah.
It was almost more like a preaching effort in a lot of respects than a memorial service.
I just remember we walked in just as it was starting, all of us, and we walked right up to the very front row, and there was the whole auditorium, the whole tennis court at that time, everything was packed with people. Hundreds of people walked up and sat in the middle of the front row. It was a lot of people there. It was, yeah.
How many people do you think were there?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000 people.
Because school friends came, basketball friends came, all of our friends came, all of their friends came.
Our work colleagues,
all there is
people I'd worked with for 10 years had come.
Work colleagues came. There was over 1,000 people, definitely.
Was it covered by the media?
Yes. The media were outside the fence, but they weren't allowed inside.
They didn't come in, though. They didn't come in.
All right. The service is held. Everyone goes their various ways, and you're left behind with your loss. What happens then?
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we had Naomi and Dave's wedding was then the next thing to plan.
I was going to say we were busy. And I think that was good and bad.
Yep.
Because when you're busy, you're busy, so you're not dealing with it. But it was good. It was very busy the next 2 months.
Well, at this point, you weren't engaged, so there's a bit of time.
They passed away on the 2nd. Then that weekend we went on the plane flight. Then the next weekend was the service. Then the next weekend we got engaged and it was Ben's birthday. And so from then to December, which was 8 weeks, to organise a wedding at home for 250 people. So yeah, it was very busy between them dying and then Christmas time.
So I'm assuming, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but if your mum and dad, if this tragedy hadn't have happened, you wouldn't have got married in that fashion. You wouldn't have potentially got married so quickly. What made you do what you did?
Everybody's opinions. Everybody's saying I should go and stay with grandma and grandpa. I should live not at home. The media at the front door, me being on my own, and David taking Dad's words very seriously that he had to look after me. So we sold Judy's Toyota Corolla for $7,000 and that paid for the whole wedding. And we were busy. My sisters helped, everybody helped, the meeting helped. Grandma Mansfield made the bridesmaid dresses. I bought a second-hand wedding dress with my pay.
Uncle Greg and Auntie Cheryl helped out too a lot, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Uncle Roger and Auntie Cherry. So all the aunties and uncles and David's family came over from Adelaide and helped set up the wedding. Everyone was amazing and very helpful. But again, there was lots of opinions. So everybody was saying your grandpa should walk you down the aisle and then your uncle should because it's your dad's brother. And I just decided no one was replacing my dad, so I walked down alone. And I remember one of my aunties, everybody was crying at the wedding, and I didn't want to cry on my wedding because I didn't want to have a sad day, and I didn't think Mum and Dad would want it to be a sad day. And I remember looking at one of my aunties, it was Lynn Kirkwood, but I remember looking at my auntie, and she was the only one smiling in the whole audience. And I just kept looking at her during the wedding because I just didn't want to cry. Yeah, I think after the wedding, then you had time to grieve.
Hannah, you were pregnant, so you had a different thing going on.
Yes, I was 7 months pregnant in the wedding. So, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that was, yeah.
And then you had Stevie and got on with life.
That's right. And he kept us busy. So he was a very good baby. But, yeah, he has had some issues from trauma during pregnancy. So, which
is that right?
Yeah. So that's been put down to trauma during pregnancy, which apparently is quite common. So which we have.
And we're not talking about physical trauma, we're talking about mental trauma, stress.
Yeah.
I remember being worried about Hannah after having Stevie, and I rang the head of the nursing area in the gynae ward where she was, and told them, or asked them if they could please keep an eye out on her and let them know what had happened during her pregnancy, because I was concerned about her going to postnatal depression afterwards.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they ever did anything.
I didn't even know you did that. There you go. It's the first time I've known that.
I did that. Yeah, because I was worried about it.
And Jackie, what did you have going on? How did you sort of get on with life?
We were just working, and we moved house the following January. So we ended up selling our unit and moving into a house and getting a dog. So it was just life as usual. So we just kept going on. The other thing I remember is that I used to have this recurring dream that Ben was found. And I worked for a merchant bank in Sydney, and they had offices in New Zealand. And I'd have this dream that Ben was found in New Zealand, and work flew me over to get him, and I brought him back and he lived with me. And I had that dream up until the day Naomi got married. After that, I never, ever had the dream again. It was the weirdest thing.
I still have recurring dreams. Really random dreams, of the same thing,
But it was the exact same dream, like every night for like 8 weeks. It was bizarre.
And I think we talked about it a lot, that if one of them is alive, who's going to look after Ben, or who's going to, what about Judy, and how's Mum going to go without Dad? There was a lot.
Just saying.
There was lots. See what I'm saying? There were opinions, and then Grandma Lake, and then Grandpa was saying, no, you wouldn't. We'd have him. And then Uncle Roger. Everybody had these big opinions, so it was very.
And we were all so young.
Teenager.
We were all so young that we sort of, we thought we were mature, but looking back, we were all so young to be just expecting to know what to do and how to deal with it. And there was never any counselling or anything offered, nothing back then. So you just had to, and we were always brought up, you just kept getting on with life, and people might have thought we were being really cold or hard-hearted, I don't know, but you just go, well, you just keep going, because what are you going to do? You're not going to sit in a corner and cry, so keep going, because you've got to keep going. So
both your parents were very strong, so you knew that's what they would have wanted you to do.
Jackie was 22. You were 22 and Hannah was 21?
No, I was
23.
23.
Jackie was 23. Hannah was 21.
I was about to
22.
turn 24.
Okay, and I was 19.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if somebody had said to you, you're going to lose your parents and your younger brother and sister, you wouldn't know how you'd react. But when it happens, you just deal with it and you keep going. It's an unusual. I think you feel sorrier for somebody else than you do for yourself. And we were never brought up to have that victim as such mindset. It's like you've got to grow and become a better person from it. And if you can do that, well, that's what's expected of us.
And back then we thought our parents were so old because, well, they were our parents, so they were old, and now we're all older than mum and dad. And dad was 50, and now we're all older than dad. So it's really quite weird. Yeah, but it's really weird to be older than your parents. It's very strange because then now you look and go, actually, they weren't old at all.
They died at my age, yeah. What was super helpful during those weeks, and what less so, not so helpful?
I know it was helpful for me. I had, what was not helpful is that people would say, you'll never get over this. You'll never get over it. And that really hurt. When you're hurting, when you're in pain, when your heart's broken, when you just, everything's lost and you're in despair, that's not helpful to hear that you'll never get over it. But a brother said to me, that's not true. You will get over this. Absolutely, you will. God will never test you above which you can bear. And that gave me great hope and great comfort that God was going to be with me and I could do this, and I clung to him. And I remember that was the most amazing comment he could have said to me, that of course you're going to get through this. That was really comforting.
For me, it was Uncle Dave. His quote that he mentioned to me once from Isaiah, how God holds all the waters in the hollow of his hand. And for me, it was going, God knows where they are. God's in control, and he took them all together, and that was obviously meant to be. So we may not know the reason we may never know the reason, but we can, continue on.
And Uncle David said to me, Psalm 103, which is that God cares for the children's children.
Yep, that's the one he said to me. Yep.
He cares for the children's children, because Ben wasn't baptized and Judy was.
You get a lot of opinions about yeah.
But whatever God does is perfect and is right. So the fact that God cares for his children is very comforting.
And whatever happens at the end, we'll be able to deal with it.
With the experience you've had, how have you helped people over the years? Did you learn a lot, and are you able to help people as a result, do you think?
I think being a listening ear and just being a friend, because a lot of the time there's really nothing you can say that's going to help.
Just being there. Just being there. Even if you say nothing at all, just being there. And everyone's situation's different, and there's always someone worse off than you, as hard as it sounds. But just actually empathizing, say, look, I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I understand what it's like to lose someone, and I'm here. And remembering little things for them, and talking about them. It being in Queensland, no one really knew mum and dad up here, so I found it very hard because no one would talk. They didn't.
Yeah, you couldn't share it with anybody.
Yeah, we'd only been up here for a year, so no one really knew us well enough to know how we'd deal with if they just came out and spoke about them. So I couldn't share a lot, and they were a bit nervous to talk to me. But I think talking about it, that's why Bible schools were very important for us and our children, because people down there knew mum and dad and could keep them alive for us. So yeah, talking about them as if they're still, like, they're just sleeping. So not brushing it away and never talking about them again. Our house is crazy with photos. I have photos up, so our children who never met them would know exactly what they look like. They know, they can pick mum's voice on the CSSA CDs. They know that's grandma talking. So just keeping things alive and keeping on.
Yeah, I have grandmum's light, a bird light, and Theodore, my grandson, knows he's not allowed to play in the playroom unless he turns grandma's light on. And I say, Grandma would love you every day that he comes to visit, which is nearly every day. And he turns on grandma's light and says, I can play now, grandma's light's on. So little things like that, having those daily or memories that you're sharing with people and talking about it constantly with family, that they're part of the family. Yeah.
We were very fortunate that Dad was an avid photographer. So we've got a lot of photos growing up, which is fantastic. And a lot of things that you remember, you only really remember it because of a photo.
Yeah.
So I think that's been very fortunate.
How has it shaped who you are today? Do you look at yourself today and think, I'm a bit like I am now because of that?
Absolutely. I think it makes you want to be a better person. You aspire to be more like your parents were, and because they always seemed so wise and that they had the answers, and you want to be remembered like they were remembered. So being consistent, just trying to be positive and be there for people.
I think it's also taught us not to take any day for granted. You can spend your whole life trying to pay off the house and earn this and that, but like you don't know what can happen tomorrow. So make the most of it. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today and with your children, and try not to let anything keep going on that you can stop now if you need to. Any hard words against people, or keep
to appreciate life.
Appreciate life,
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It made me appreciate life, that life is a blessing.
Yep.
It makes me grateful for every day. As we said, Mum passed away at 45, Dad was 50. I've just turned 50 and I'm the youngest now. I was the middle child, but they didn't get to see their 13 grandchildren. They didn't get to see their 8 great-grandchildren. So I just think soaking in every moment with family, to me, is super important. And I think it's made us stronger people, all of us, the 3 of us as couples, because we've stuck at marriage with for over 30 years, all of us, and worked together through the trials, which we've all had challenges, and we've grown stronger as marriages, in our marriages, because of it, I would say.
One of the things I notice just talking to you guys right now is how you've maintained your faith. It is entirely possible that going through a tragedy like this, I guess you're forced to make a choice with God. So either you blame God and then reject God as a result. None of you have done that. And in fact, what I'm hearing is it's made your faith stronger, and you've never let go of that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an incredible lesson for everybody.
Yeah, I think expectation doesn't create appreciation, but when you don't have it, you lose something. All of a sudden you appreciate what you don't have. So when you can give that back, it's very special. Yeah. And it's counting your blessings too. I think counting your blessings, we lost 4 members, but then I feel like I gained 4 members. I got 4 beautiful children and 4 son and daughter-in-laws and beautiful grandchildren. So we've got so much more. So it's clinging to God, that God is good and he loves us.
And it's not like you don't go, oh, why did this have to happen? I'm sure everyone has.
Yeah, so you still ask that question?
Well, I don't anymore, but you still wonder to yourself, gee, why would that have happened to them? But at the same time, you go, well, what makes us and them so special that it wouldn't have happened to them? And if it had happened to other people, that might have had a totally different outcome for the family. So obviously the way we were brought up, it's like, right, keep on going. So, yeah.
For me, it made me realise more that I needed God, and I needed to be as faithful as I could to be able to see them again too. So, and our kids, I remember even once, I think I was only 40, I was 44 at the time, and I remember saying to our youngest, I said, you know what, Jesus is going to return this year. And he's going, how do you know, Mum? I said, because he'd never let me get older than my mother. But it didn't work.
And a lot of people did question why did it happen? I never did. I never, from the very day, the day it happened, I never questioned God ever. But I definitely made me cling to God. And in every challenge, like when we were flying over and looking down and thinking, God knows, God's in control. And then I remember through other tragedies, when Laura Jane was in heart failure and we were flying the Westpac helicopter to Sydney and looking down and just praying and tears running down my eyes, going, God, you know, this is your baby. God, clinging to God. My word would be clinging. I've just clung to God, that he's got this and he knows what's right. And that's given me amazing strength that I wouldn't have had otherwise, I don't think. that God's completely in control, because the pain does go, it dulls, and joy comes on, and you learn to live with it. But I think you only grow when you allow yourself to go through. So I am happy to be sad. I'm happy to talk about them dying. I'm happy not to talk. But I feel whatever I feel at the time. So I don't hide if I'm sad or I'm missing them, or I listen to a hymn in the meeting and I'm thinking of my mum and tears roll down my face. I'm really true to whatever emotion I am at that time.
There's a really good poem about grief being like a stone. When you get it at first, it's heavy and it's in the way, but if you have it in your pocket over the years, it doesn't go away. It's still there, but you get to learn. Sometimes you feel it and you think of it, you feel it with joy. Sometimes you feel and it feels heavy, but you learn to live with it. It's always there. It never goes away. You just live with grief. You don't get over grief.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing the story. I think it's, first of all, very brave and incredibly inspiring. Perhaps we could just finish with just maybe a thought from each of you. As a final thought for those who've listened to your story, what would you want them to think about and get from it?
That you can keep going, that life is still good and you can still be happy. You know, it's being positive and always finding the positive outcomes and growing through things than letting it consume you and take you down.
Don't take any day for granted. Make the most of every day you've got.
Yep.
And my thoughts are, life is precious. So appreciate every single moment you have, because it can change in an instant, and cling to God, because if He's your reality, you will get through. And our characters are created through challenges and through trials. So I don't believe we can change our circumstances, but we can completely choose how we react to our circumstances. So God's interested in our reactions more than our circumstances. He can change the circumstances, but He lets us create the character through our challenges and our trials.
Thank you very much for joining Wilderness Conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you.